Hey, so good to see you. This is Global News Morning. You may have heard the name Bob MacKenzie, not the hockey analyst, not Bob and Doug MacKenzie. I'm talking about renowned Kingston poet Bob MacKenzie. We wish him a great morning. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. It's a wonderful day.
Well, congratulations. A brand new poetry anthology here. Interesting thing is you didn't go out and throw this around and pitch it. The publisher came to you. How does an India-based publisher get in touch with Bob MacKenzie? This is a great story.
I have no idea how they found me, but I'm happy they did. The publisher, Professor Agarwal, sent me an email saying, I would love to publish your 50-page book. And so I followed up receiving an email like that, of course, by doing research online of who he is and who his company is. It's all very legitimate. His is the largest book publisher in India, and one of the largest in the world, which is amazing. And what's interesting is he had actually sent similar emails to 2 or 3 other Canadian poets, and every one of them decided it was some sort of a scam and didn't even bother looking into him, and got very upset that he was sending him this stuff. So I investigated, I contacted him, I asked him a lot of questions, and it was all very legitimate, and what a thrill to have the publisher find me instead of me sending out a manuscript. The hard part then was, though, I didn't have a manuscript.
That's incredible. Well, Cyberwit.net is the name of the publisher. It is India's largest publishing house. The brand new book is called Footsteps in the Garden.
Yes. I chose, as I usually do, I chose the title after the manuscript was put together, and it's the title of one of the shorter poems in the book, which has to do with a fearful walk through the woods and one's own garden into the house, all the while feeling that someone is following you and hearing strange sounds behind you. And then even in the house with the door locked, you can hear footsteps in the garden outside. At home, I lock the gate, cross the garden quickly, go in and lock the door, breathe a sigh of relief. But in the silence, I hear footsteps in the garden. It epitomizes what's in the book, really. A lot of my writing, especially more recently, is about the dark places we end up in, and the fact that there's a light beyond, that you can get out of this darkness, and that it's not all bad. So I felt that poem kind of epitomized that.
That's been a thread through a lot of your work, that hopeful, upbeat sort of approach to things by the end of what could be a dark poem. Is that you as a person, a hopeful, upbeat person?
Yeah, it really is. I find it impossible to be depressed, and they use that term to hit bottom. A lot of I've never hit bottom. If I go into the dark, I drift down so far and then kind of float, and I float back up toward the light. So it's a good way to live.
One of the reviews for Footsteps in the Garden, beautiful review, talks about how your pacing is spot on. The verses sizzle with suspense, resilience, hope, love, trauma, soulless woes, and so much. But they say you will read the difference of Bob's writing and maybe hope that all poetry was written like this. Wow.
That's my reaction. Unbelievable. I have no idea where that comes from, but it pleases me no end that she would say that.
When did you realize you were onto something here? I mean, art has been a whole part of your life since you were a very young child with photography, but poetry itself, when did this become such a big part of your life?
Well, I guess I've always done story in different varieties of art, but when I was in high school, in grade 11, 2 things happened. One is there was another kid who spent a lot of time outside of his classes and in breaks sitting cross-legged in the hallway writing poetry. And I thought that was kind of a neat thing. But then also in one of my classes, one of the kids handed me Leonard Cohen's first book, A Spice Box of Earth, and I read that, and it blew me away at 16 years old. So that started me on that road. And then I left high school 2 years later, after grade 12, determined to become a writer and specifically a poet. So that's my beginnings.
We'll remind people, Footsteps in the Garden, published through Cyberwit.net. We appreciate your presence here in this city. Bob MacKenzie, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill.